Hello and welcome to this pre-recorded information session for TAPPS 2022 Regional Swimming Meets. My name is John Skees and I'm the Director of Media with TAPPS. I'm joined today by Brian Bunselmeyer, Executive Director of TAPPS, Robert Huckabee, Associate Director and Director of Compliance of TAPPS, and Cerise Skinner, Director of Swimming at TAPPS. Helping us out behind the keyboard in the TAPPS office today is Will Dixon. This recording will be made available on our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/TAPPSBiz, and will be sent to TAPPS swimming coaches and athletic directors designated in Rank 1. If you did not receive an email with a link to this recording, please check and make sure that you are identified properly in Rank 1 for your school. You can find a transcript for this recording in the description below. If you have any questions, please contact the office, info@tapps.biz. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Brian to get us started. Brian.
Regional Swim 2022. We just turned the calendar and we're already talking about getting in the pool for the competition. We appreciate you being a part of this opportunity this year. We're glad to be back to the regional sites. Last year, COVID forced us out. This year, we're hoping to be able to stave off COVID long enough to be able to host the regional meets. Right now, we're planned on being there the 3 days that are shown here pretty quick. University of Houston, January the 22nd. NEISD the 24th, and Mansfield the 28th. We'll be on the road enjoying a lot of I-45 and I-10 and I-35, making the big triangle. Hopefully you only have to make one of them. We're joined today by Cerise Skinner, our Director of Swim. She's done a great job of getting the swim invites and getting all the information ready for you. She speaks your language, so we're glad to have her along, and she's taken swim to such a great height. We're proud to have you here today, Cerise, and thank you for being with us. As we get ready to talk about entries, I'm going to let Cerise jump in here real quick and talk about the entries, what you need to know, what you need to do and not do. Cerise, if you talk about entries, take it away.
Absolutely. It is very important for regional meets that you not only get the proper code for your school, and you can find that on tapps.biz, but when you send the entries in, the subject line has to be in the format that you see below. You will have your school, then you will have your TAPPS code, then you will list your region and your division. If you do not know your region or your division, you can go to tapps.biz. And I've put under there an example. The person receiving all of our entries is doing every single entry from all over the state of Texas, and this is the format he needs to be organized. For schools that have fewer than, or 4 swimmers or fewer, you can go to the link under district regional meets, and I've included a picture there for you. It will have all the information that you need to enter your swimmers. This is super important. If you have a club swimmer, they have a USA database, and they need these times to count in their database. So you must enter their USA ID number in your team manager file, or if you're doing a hand entry, there is a place for the USA ID number. We will not be able to do these after the meet. And once you put it in your high-tech program, it will follow the swimmers from every single meet that they swim in.
I think the big part from our side is the organization on the U.S. swimmer IDs. Those of you that have been doing this a while understand the importance. If you haven't been doing it very long in the interscholastic setting, it's still important to get that U.S. ID number in there. And while it may not be the most important thing on the coach's mind, I guarantee you it's very important on mom and daddy's mind. And if they find that this swim and that this time does not count because we forgot to, or you forgot to put the USA ID number in there, it does have causes some confrontational opportunities. I think that's the best way to say it. So we will not be adding USA ID numbers after the meet. So make sure before you get that taken care of. The entry deadline for all meets is January the 17th at or about 5 p.m. End of day, close of business, so that Mike can jump on there and make sure he's doing the very best he can to get the meets heated and get the psych sheets and all those other things that you want out so desperately to be able to see. We do ask that the north and the central regions have the same entry deadline. That way there's no competitive advantage gained. Everybody has made their entries on the same time. You haven't been able to see somebody else's psych sheets or results. So January the 17th, if you didn't already have that marked down, make sure you get that done. Scratches and substitutions do occur. Basically prior to the event, make sure you check and make sure once we've finished the psych sheets, everything's in there. If it's just a technical error, wherein is we've misspelled a name, we forgot a name, we've got your school wrong, and believe it or not, we do that every now and then. We're dyslexic at times as well. We forget what letter goes in front of the other on the swim ID code. But you do have deadlines, January the 20th for the East in Houston, the 22nd for the Central in San Antonio, and the 26th for the North in Mansfield. We call it the fair effort rule here, probably not quite the same, but basically once you withdraw somebody from an event, and they're no longer allowed. If they miss it, if they do not have a declared false start, if they miss it, et cetera, once that started at the meet or after the deadline, then there could be taking away opportunities from someone else. So if you've got questions on that, hit us up at the meet or at the coaches meeting. Relay alternates. Sharice, talk to us a little bit about when they make their relay entries and what that needs to look like.
Certainly. On your relay entries, you can put up to 8 swimmers when you enter them. It's not until the day of the meet that you have to decide on the 4 swimmers you want to swim that actual relay. So just to be safe, if you have enough swimmers, enter as many as 8 on the relay entries so that you have some flexibility if somebody gets sick. Once you're at the meet, you have to designate the 4 relay swimmers. If you look on your invite, there are deadlines during the meet for each relay. I do want to caution you, because this actually happened to me when I was a coach. Please watch the number of events per swimmer. They can swim 2 individuals and 2 relays, or they can swim 3 relays and 1 individual. So if you start moving swimmers around from relay to relay, make sure you count their events.
And that declared false start does still count as an event. If you put them in the event, it still counts. So you can't do that. I'm already in 2 relays. I'm in 2 individuals. I do a declared false start in a individual opportunity, and then I can't be added to a later relay. And I will tell you that exceptions report from experience on our end comes out at the end of the meet or later on the meet, which sometimes takes us a while to rescore and figure out where things are going. So relay alternates and substitutions, if you have a problem, if you have a question, you'll jump back over and talk to us. Well, do me a favor and jump over to the TAPPS website. That's www.tapps.biz. For those of you that don't know, you're going to click on athletics up there at the top in the blue line, and then you're going to click on swimming. So yes, we do still have a swimming page. It's buried there in the middle. And then you'll pop it up and you'll click on the big blue box that says district and regional information. And once you do that, you'll see meet information. Will, just for ease of performance, let's jump on Mansfield and click on that green button. And as we walk through there, Robert, look at that schedule and just tell us what steps out in your mind real quick.
So the important thing, first off, is when you get there and where to go. So it's a little different for each of our particular regional meets. Each natatorium, each campus we're on is set up a little bit differently. So do pay attention if you haven't been to this particular regional meet before. Pay attention to where you drop off, where you'll be parking. Obviously, those who are in the Houston area know that there are parking options there on campus. Fortunately, we're there on Saturday, so we do have some parking options. And then there are directions for where the buses are supposed to park. So first thing do is you get there, make sure you know that, and then watch this schedule, follow up. We're going to have a coaches meeting. We will have hospitality set up at each of our sites, and we will have a coaches meeting on this particular invite you see there at 8 a.m. Make sure you're there and in time for that. We'll have warm-ups. There will be a schedule for the warm-ups that's available and directions on how and where to do that. And then 8:45, we will have that timers meeting at Mansfield. It's in the weight room right there by the start area at your particular pool. Make sure we'll be making announcements as well. It'll be easy to follow if you have this schedule with you and you're listening and paying attention. And we want all our timers, we'll talk about it here in a little bit. Our timers are going to be in 2 sessions, but we want all of them there for that one meeting at the beginning of the meet so that the meet referee goes over that just one time. We'll clear the pool. In this instance, at 9:50 in Mansfield, we'll do a prayer and national anthem. Make sure you get all your swimmers out of the pool. Out of respect for our prayer and national anthem, we're going to have a quiet pool for a minute there while we do that. And then in this particular case, in Mansfield at 10 a.m., we'll start our first race.
I think the first time that pops into my mind up there is that doors open. So understand that all of the pools that we go to are using them up until the time we get there, especially at Mansfield and Northeast. So please plan on being there at or about 7:45. And if it's cold outside, it's more likely than not, Robert and I may have a little compassion, but if they don't have any place to put you, you'll be standing outside in the cold. And it has been significantly cold at times.
Most of the pools we go to do not have a very big foyer or staging area for you to hang out. So you might want to stay in the car, stay in the bus until it's time to go in, whatever that schedule is for your particular regional site.
So Will, do me a favor while we're here and drop on down on that invite, go to about page 3 or 4. And I think somewhere, keep going down, we're going to look at that schedule we just talked about a minute ago here in the office. So the order of events, that's the other thing that's going to be important on each of the invites so that you can have, remember, it is a rolling start. There are no scheduled times after we kick off, but the breaks are listed in there. The only thing that would change is if by the pool host decides that we need to make a change, longer or shorter, then we would definitely look at that. Or if something happens and we require to clear the pool, then we would come back and do a little bit of warm up and do some extra things. But for right now, that's the plan. We're 3 weeks out, 2 weeks out. We're hoping that we can pull it off in that instance. All right, we'll jump on back to the PowerPoint for me. It's very important that you or one of your coaches is part of the coaches meeting. It will be brief because we're giving you a lot of the basics here. Your warm-up assignments, make sure you know when they begin and when they're end. Again, during prayer, national anthem, the pools are closed, all the warm-up pools, so make sure that you're out. We'll do that first call once we're done. Swimmers and timers, be there ready to rock and roll. The breaks are shown on your basic schedule. Timers, it's important to the meet, cannot be overstated. Without timers, we can't have a really good meet. So we want a really good meet. We want to put on a professional quality opportunity. It takes all of us. It takes everybody to raise a child in the community. So make sure that if you've got timers, make sure you check that timer sheet. If your school is there to time, make sure you have somebody that is ready to time. They are supplied by the teams. Make sure that you do have your head timers. If you've got one of those that understand the procedure and the importance that they are, somebody's watch stops, they're going to have to go back out there. So we'll have one, according to Sharice, on either side of the pool, so we'll be able to take care of that. Training before the meet begins, time and place. Just make sure that if you need to see the trainer, if you need to do anything that goes on with getting tape or whatever approved by the meet official, make sure you do that before the meet, not once the meet is started. Your basic schedule is going to be in 2 blocks for your timers. It's going to be the 200 medley relay to the 50 free, and then the 100 fly to the 400 free. So, Sharice, I believe we're going to follow that timing schedule at all 3 sites and at state. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Psych sheets. Sharice is putting a little time crunch on us here, so the psych sheets will be posted as soon as we can on January the 19th for the East, the 21th for the Central, and the 25th for the North. So we hope to get those out, have those posted on TAPPS.biz. At the on-site registration, each team, just like last year when you got to state, will do a COVID affirmation stating that your basically your students and your staff that are there are COVID symptom-free or not positive. Robert, walk us through a little bit of the other things that are on there for me.
So what you'll do when you check in, we'll have a copy. You don't need to bring it with you. We'll have COVID affirmations, as Brian mentioned, that you can sign. You'll check in. This would be your last opportunity to check that USAID swimming number. Make sure that's in there. Once we get the meet started, we won't be able to add those afterwards. So that would be a time to check and make sure that's done. You can review your entries, review your relays at each site. Based on the setup and our meet director, you'll be given clear instructions of when you need to get all of those things turned in throughout the course of the meet with regard to your relays and those kind of things. Those will be covered in the coaches meeting. And then payment of your meet fees, you should be able to do those. If you have any questions, reach out to our office. Our ladies here in the office can assist you with that. We will be accepting your checks and payment at that time, and specific to University of Houston as required by their facility for many years now. You do have waivers that are required, so please bring those with you completed and turn those in as well.
So the question comes up every year, do I owe money for a swimmer that is just an alternate on the relay? They're not swimming an individual or in another relay. If that's the plan going in, then the answer is no, you do not have to pay for them. You do not have to pay for your managers as long as they come in with the team. We'll go down that road. However, you can do the math. You know how many swimmers you have entered in individuals and are actually planning on swimming in the relays. So help us out. We can bill you later if need be. We'd prefer to take care of business at the time that we get there. So again, one other thing that comes to mind, Robert, while we're talking about it, just remind me later that we need to talk about the COVID protocols and deck space and what it's going to look like. We've got it in there. So important reminders. Sharice, we do follow National Federation rules. What stands out in your mind about those?
I would just suggest, if you don't have a rules book, to go to the NFHS site, and I believe there's already a link on the TAPPS.biz. Read over some of the rules. This year, it focuses on bathing suits, and it gives you some good information on when and when you cannot use K-tape, and it gives you some information on relays. There's really no new information because TAPPS has been handling our relays the way that the National Federation wants us to handle it for many years.
So I think the big thing for us, especially when you talk about swimsuits, make sure that they're legal by NFHS definition. I think what we put in here was cover what needs to be covered. I think that's self-explanatory, but some people might not have that. Talk to me about the swim cap. I mean, the deck coats, we ask that you not wear your club coats. We ask that they denote your school if possible. But what's the deal on the swim caps? We get asked this every year. What's legal and what's not legal in a swim cap in a few choice and small words, Reese?
Swim caps can only have your school logo, school name. If you don't have one of those, you need to wear a plain cap. It cannot have anything else like the Olympic symbol or other symbols. It has to be your school logo or a plain cap. You can always turn a cap, an illegal cap, inside out and wear that.
I think most of our officials are going to try to warn you as they go up. I've seen them do a really good job of that when they can, but it's not their responsibility to warn you prior to jumping in the pool. Is that a correct statement?
It is correct. And make sure that the tech suits that you are wearing are not see-through. That's going to be very important. It would be really a shame for us to have to ask your swimmer to change into another suit.
So I think the big question there is if you've got a question on caps or swimsuit, day of the meet's not the time to ask it. They need to go ahead and get the email, take picture or whatever and get it to us. And we can help. That's info, I-N-F-O @tapps.biz. One of the things that comes up every year is conduct inside the facility. Remember, we are in a confined space. It's a limited space and we need to have respect for everybody that's there. So we always say no running, et cetera, et cetera. We really mean that. And the other thing that comes about is shaving. The last couple of years we've been better, but we actually have had to DQ swimmers and DQ some teams based on shaving inside the facility. That has been forbidden by the NFHS and TAPPS forever. So please warn your students, warn your students, warn your students. If they shave inside the facility, especially with COVID right now, I guarantee the facility is going to have a problem with it as well as we will once we find out. So make sure we take care of business. Again, injuries, we will have folks on site to take care of you with Children's Health Andrews Institute up here. We've got folks in San Antonio and we've got folks at U of H. But if you do have an injury and it's going to cause a situation on the meet day, once they get to the meet, they do have to have any injury or whatever. That would have to be reviewed by the officials. Is that not correct? If they have a change or whatever, Sharice?
That is correct. If there's a sickness or an injury, you need to talk to the head meet referee.
I would suggest doing that as soon as possible once you find out. We did have a couple of folks last year. I think once it got a little warm when we were in San Antonio, struggled with some situations and they had to be withdrawn. But it was once again, talk to the referee, talk to the meet officials, and we'll get you taken care of there. Event heats and seating, we've done this for years. We schedule them by gender. All divisions at the regional meets swim together, and they're based on entry times. So please make sure your times are as accurate as possible. And so the Division 1 to Division 2, Division 3 swimmers can all be in the same heat. We want the fastest heats, the fastest folks in the fastest heats to try to make the best times for qualifying. So you might have a Division 3 swimmer be the fastest swimmer in the meet in that event, and they would be in that the heat with the Division 1 and 2s. At U of H, Sharice, correct me if I'm wrong here, U of H is 8 lanes, NEISD is 10, and Mansfield's 10. So I think we'll be good to go. Keep that meet moving along. Awards, each team at the regional level, it's by division, by gender, first through third place for the teams. Individual awards by division, by gender, we give awards first through 8th place. And then the regional swimmer of the meet by division, by gender, we use the NISCA points tables on that, and the awards will then be presented at the championship meets. Robert, talk to me a little bit about points paying, since we just talked about individual awards. How far down are we paying points at the regional meet?
So we're going to pay points to 8th place at the regional meet. So that is important that your swimmers know that. And also keep in mind, as Brian mentioned, you're going to be swimming in your heat, most likely with swimmers from different divisions. So they need to swim as best they can, post their times, and then all that will be broken out for the results moving on to the state meet. And that will be very important for them to keep in mind.
So your awards and your overall placement and your points are by division. So even though you're swimming with a mix of divisions in the pool, we're going to break it out later when you come out. So it's very important when you do your entries, make sure you get your division right, make sure you get your school code right. Advancement to the championships, the top 3 by division and by gender are automatic. They move up as long as they meet the upper limit qualifying times, and that chart's posted on the TAPPS website. And then the next 7 slots are filled by the division, by gender. The next fastest come in as long as they're under the upper limit times, all regions combined. So the top 3 automatically qualify as long as their times are good from each region. Then we backfill with the next 7. Sharice and Mike and Bill will do a great job once we get all the meets concluded. If you do have scratches, if you do have withdrawals, they will try to do a call-up until the point where we can't do a call-up any longer. So again, it'll all be based on time, and away we'll go. One thing that has happened in the past is that we've had a tie maybe between Dallas and San Antonio, or San Antonio and Houston for that last spot. We've done it twice that I can remember in my years here at TAPPS. That would be a swim off. So you'd bring 16 and 17 if they both want a chance to get into the meet, and they would have a swim off before, and I'm sure Bill would make that a crowd pleasure. Withdrawing from the championships, there will be a scratch deadline. We'll talk about that on the webinar for the championships, but just be aware that is on the TAPPS website. Robert, I was hoping when we got to 2022 and we turned that big calendar that we wouldn't have to be talking about COVID, but talk to us a little bit about the general COVID protocols that are going to apply at each facility.
Thank you, Brian. Yes, we will. We've visited with all of our host sites, and right now everything is good to go for swimmers and coaches on the deck. Keep that in mind. We haven't mentioned that, but we'll reiterate that. And while we're talking about that, on the deck, we had a request last year at the state meet, and it worked very well. I think we've done it at some of the regional meets as well. No coaches' chairs allowed on the swim deck. That helps us tremendously. As you all know, we had to make some modifications to the flow of swimmers before, during, and after each race that worked very, very well. The sites we've used have done something similar, and not having those coaches' chairs planted right there by the pool just allows us more room to move around and to take care of that. It also helps us with our social distancing as well. As we mentioned earlier, you'll sign your COVID affirmation when you come in. Remember, you're affirming that no one you're bringing, that's swimmers, that's trainers, coaches, everybody representing your school, they are not positive for COVID. They don't have those COVID symptoms that we're all too familiar with by now. And you will attest to that. So we know that everybody there, as best we know, is at least attesting that they're healthy and good to go. In addition to that, if there are any changes to the protocols for any of our host sites, we'll let you know that immediately. You do need to follow your own school protocols. If your school protocols require that when you're out at events, you wear a mask or those kind of things, certainly we will honor that. You're welcome to wear a mask when you're on the deck and then when you are in the stands for sure, but you're not required to unless something changes with one of our host facilities.
So, Robert, as far as we know, each of our sites are going to allow a fan base to attend. As far as we know right now, we haven't been told those fan bases are limited. So we're anticipating the opportunity to have spectators at each of our meets. Robert, when I'm sitting here thinking about, Sharice, you can chime in too. I'm thinking about one-way starts and just how crowded it gets. You're just going to have to work that through with what your school protocols are and just have an understanding there's going to be a lot of folks up on the starting deck.
Yes, that is correct. And again, if you're not comfortable with it, then come talk to someone and we can probably make some switches, but the one-way starts will absolutely be crowded.
So just understand that we'll do the best we can. And you know, of all the things we do, sometimes it's the appearance of things. That's the one time I can tell you that I know it's going to get just crazy. And then when we're up there for relays and you're up there on the starting opportunity and we're up there on the deck, just know that there's going to be a lot of people back there, especially where we're swimming 10 lanes. So we'll do the very best we can to pre-stage and stage, but help us out, have your swimmers there on time. And we'll do the best to social distance. We'll do the best we can to social distance as well on the team areas, but that's also kind of determined by how many students you bring. So obviously, if they're part of your team, they're an alternate or they're a manager, it's a team event. We do want them there. We do want everybody to enjoy, but we also need to be cognizant of the fact that if you do have a lot of JV swimmers that have no chance of hitting the pool, they're really not going to serve a purpose. As your manager that's actually doing something in the stands is a far better place than to be on the deck. We'll ask our timers to go back upstairs. One thing that we will try to do as best we can, and we need everybody's help, is if you're mom and dad and you're upstairs or you're in the fan area, we definitely don't need you coming down on deck. COVID just at any point is that appearance. And the appearance is that if we don't regulate, that there could be a problem. So health and safety, we do have Children's Health Andrews Institute up here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area that will be on site. We'll be using the trainers from San Antonio Northeast ISD, and we'll be using the EMT facilities there at U of H. So health and safety will be provided throughout the day, both in warm-ups and until the last splash. Fan info, we will have a fan info post that'll go on the website. We'll notify you at that time for each of the regions. It'll have a link to the media that's out there. It'll have an opportunity to purchase your tickets online. We will have a fee of $10 for fans to watch and be spectators. The broadcast will be free, but all that fan info will be posted on that swim page. It'll be a post on the homepage, and it'll also be an email out to coaches. So look to have fan info coming your way shortly. TAPPS Media, unless I forget one, John, you will. Anybody can jump in here with me. The Twitter is TAPPS Swim. Facebook is TAPPS Biz. Whatever photographs we get of the championship teams, et cetera, whatever we may have would go up at the regional level on TAPPS Smug Mug. We are not paying for photographers to be at the regional swim meets. However, we will have photographers with full coverage of the state championships. So this first three, you're kind of on your own, but there's a caveat to that. We do not allow cameras or recording equipment, whether it's an iPhone, whether it's a true camera, whether it's your school photographer, whatever. We do not allow photographers on deck at any time. Not just, it includes the whole deck. It does not include just behind the starting block. So they cannot be anywhere on deck. One thing that would change is if they are credentialed media from a source like the Houston Chronicle, San Antonio Express News, or the Dallas Morning News, they will be allowed after they pass our checks to get there. But so for coaches, for swimmers, for moms and dads, for timers, for student media, for school media, no pictures on the deck. We'll take care of the best you can. As I sit here and I think about it, I think that was about all I had that was that we needed to talk about. I'm going to throw it to Robert real quick. Is there anything from our perspective that you think we need to change? Speak just a minute about rank one and what has to be done with the students and coaches in rank one, Robert. I did forget that.
Just remember that all of your coaches need to be listed in rank one as a swim coach, either head or assistant coach. You need to have completed all your annual scope compliance, sign your acknowledgement of rules. Make sure that's been done. And then for all of your swimmers, they need to be in rank 1. They need to have all of their information completed, all those forms that are required in there, including the medical history and physical, any other school forms you might require, all those things. They need to be green in rank 1. If you don't know what that means, reach out to your athletic director at your school. That means all their paperwork has been turned in and approved. And then they need to be included on a swim roster. They need to be on a swim roster in rank 1 so we can pull that information from that database.
We will be checking that rank 1 database against your entries that show up on the psych sheet. So don't not have them in rank 1. Because if the paperwork's not complete and they don't get to swim, more likely than not, it's going to be because of a rank 1 difficulty. Kelly Bay in our office is here to be your hero. If you need help in rank 1, reach out to us. So just to get us to there, Sharice, what thoughts do you have that we've missed?
I think we've covered just about everything. But certainly if you have a question, reach out to TAPPS at info@tapps.biz, or you can reach me. They'll have my information. I'm just want to say how excited I am about this swim year. It seems that we're a little bit more free, and just encourage everyone to swim fast.
Swim fast, swim good, be there on time, and away we'll go. Again, COVID is here. We know that some schools, even in the competitions we're having this week, are struggling. We've got some schools whose programs have been shut down in one area or another. If it does come to your house, then please reach out to us. Let us know what's going on. We're all in this together. We'll do whatever we can to help to make things happen for your swimmers. Sometimes there's no answer other than they can't swim, but we sure will do everything we can to make it happen. So www.tapps.biz, click on athletics, click on swimming. There's all the information you'll need on there. Info @tapps.biz, info@tapps.biz. That's going to be the email, and 254-947-9268, 254-947-9268. Give us a call on the old landline, and we'll give it the best chance we can to help you. So again, we are so excited to be able to have regional swim meets so folks can stay closer to home. I think it'll be a great opportunity. We're looking forward to a great atmosphere. We can't wait to see you there. John, take us on out of here.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Sharice. And thank you, Will. Folks, that's it for us today. Again, this recording will be sent to everyone designated as a swimming coach or athletic director in rank 1, and it will be available on our YouTube page. That's youtube.com/tappsbiz. For a transcript, check the description below this video, and you will see a link to a transcript. Thank you, folks. Again, if you have any questions, info@tapps.biz, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.